People might even think of Flashpoint Beyond, which we'll start with maybe being their event, Eric.
The worst part is everybody is dismissing this goddamn book because all they're saying is, I don't need no more Flashpoints. If you read the actual book, it actually comes out in this issue how it's directly tied to freaking Dark Crisis right now. And the Great Dark is like, get on this goddamn book.
It made it really big. And it's funny, too, because when you end up where you start yelling about hypertime and all these things going on.
And boy, do I yell about hypertime.
Oh, yeah. And I think that this, obviously, it does even mention Dark Crisis. It mentions Pariah, mentions all that. But it starts to, tie into even feeling bigger than that at points. I mean, it's hard to get bigger than Pariah and that crazy team he has.
Even this idea where what we have going on right now, where the Time Masters are introduced in hypertime in a time sphere, but the idea that in between issue number 2 and 3 that we're talking about tonight, where Batman was in the Batcave, trying to uncover all the stuff that's going on with his father, what's coming, what's up with Slade, all these different mysteries within the DC universe, as freaking, one of the Time Masters sitting there talking to him about, oh my God, you done fucked up, as related to something that came out of the Doomsday Clock, and freaking, what was the other one? Was it Three Jokers? Anyway, the idea then, in between that, it seems like, the Dark Crisis started, the Justice League are dead, and Batman is no longer around because in his research, he's gone off and been killed by Pariah.
Yeah, and remember, even at the beginning, we saw the chalkboard, and there was things about Deathstroke not working or acting right, and that kind of plays in. But you also get stuff that even is deeper cuts that you really were, enjoying and talking about, was that summer spring break special, the Stargirl deal.
Yeah,
it's really tying in a lot of things.
With the freaking idea of what was it, Julie Garrick? It was the idea of a Garrick name that we didn't we haven't seen, and since that, the idea of that spring break special, where we also got names like Secret. And the Dynamite Kid, Wing, the sidekick character also who had died previously. A bunch of these kid characters who had been lost previously in the continuities of the DC Comics were somehow, out there still being held captive against their will, to everybody believing that they're just dead and gone, or never even knowing about them.
At the end, you get mentioned, oh my God, hypertime, is this a Thomas Wayne thing? No, I think it's a Thawne. It gets big. It's really good. And this issue, again, I don't know the play, where sometimes you wish that things might have been a little bit bigger or spelled out a little more right away so that people jump on. But you said it, and I said the same thing,
Judy
and that's
Garrett's
what's kind of upsetting me, Judy. And you end up where, Dark Crisis, here we go, Crisis, we've had too many, we get a crisis every week, and they just pish-posh it. And then you get this, Flashpoint, we're done with that. This is different because we did have Thomas Wayne in, and some of these things end up being somebody's fuck up, ends up, being better down the line.
We have a redemption push for Thomas Wayne right now, which I have been enjoying before he got Omega beamed by Darkseid.
And you also want to see if things made sense. And, Tom King, and even with this, not even this, but the idea of the war zones over in the War World stuff with Philip Kennedy Johnson, it annoys us that some people fuck up and you have to kind of go. But if you can get a good story out of it, I like it. And this isn't just what people were saying. Oh, what? He's just there with the flashpoints. And this is different. This is something has gone wrong. Something with hypertime, something with this. And then you get the funniest play of this, though, this Clockwork Killer. That's the one thing that kind of gets pushed aside that I'm not interested in. You know what I mean? I do think it's interesting, but it's kind of such an aside. Because I'm more involved
because you don't know enough about
this is huge things, and this ties into Dark Crisis.
The thing is, the idea of the Clockwork Killer, and everything we've seen is just random paper articles about his victims, stuff like that, how they're all tied to something time travel related in our own universe and stuff like that. And everything that's been going on has been in the background, the periphery of what Thomas Wayne is doing, of just making sure that this world dies and we get the world that we know and love back and stuff like that, because he thinks that the Flashpoint is happening again. He doesn't understand why, but in the background of all this, he doesn't understand about the Clockwork Killer and his victim as much as we do. So while we're seeing all this great stuff going on with Thomas Wayne and him trying to get to the bottom of it, it's not worrying him, so it's not worrying us either.
Yeah, and it's weird, it's going to hit at some point really big, and it's going to be oh my God, yeah. But I like the idea, because this is something, as an aside, I hate when you have certain characters man, I remember when we had the flashpoints. And I like this idea where Thomas Wayne is back in his world. He doesn't know that this affects anything. He thinks it does. He wouldn't know that. He's just back there. That's his concern. Oh my God, I'm back to this again. I got to stop this because I got to get back to that square one to get the other universe right.
While people might think that Flashpoint is either its own universe or hypertime, its own timeline, it is a rewritten Earth Zero timeline, which means that everything that we love is gone in order for Thomas Wayne's universe to exist, timeline to exist. And he knows this as well from everything he's experienced with Barry Allen during Flashpoint to everything that he knows right now, as far as he knows.
Yeah,
is
he thinks that.
His son is now dead again and his bullshit world has been recreated and he has to get back and stop it.
Exactly. And the funny play is, if you do play this out, and it does connect so much, I mean, he thinks he's fighting to get back the regular timeline. It's still going concurrently. We don't know why, how, or whatnot. But if he does go back to the regular timeline, his son is dead. Like the idea that he would go back and that's kind of a crazy deal. That's like a kick in the balls then of like, oh, wait, this didn't affect it. Oh, your son's dead anyway. Oh, shit. Like maybe then he's going to start wondering, maybe if I tweak this, but it won't because these are disconnected. This is a timeline that seems to be disconnected from that in some wacky way, and we'll have to see.
We know that our Earth Zero timeline is going on right now, so this is disconnected from what we've seen previously with Flashpoint, where the timeline continues on outside of what we already have seen during Flashpoint, where it looks like it's just existing purely in hyper time.
But what I like about this issue, where in that you can say, well, then there's no stakes, but at the end of this, you see there are. They're really messing with hyper time. That could end up resetting things. This could end up making things wacky.
Something larger going on with the Great Darkness and people's background stuff being rewritten constantly now. Like we have to make sure we put a stop to whatever is happening because even the Time Master is concerned. And Rip Hunter, he ain't involved in this.
Yeah. We don't know what's going on. He ends up all his assistants are running around and they have theories and they're worried. But
like even the idea, like for some reason, I don't know how it's played off because we don't have a Batman section in this bit where we've normally have previously. Because I believe that in between issue number 2 and 3, Batman's gone off with the regular Justice League and been killed by the Great Darkness. So what's Corky Baxter up to? Is he just still sitting in the friggin' the Batcave waiting for him to come back?
He's like, when's he gonna come back? He said that he'd come back with my slingshot and my raccoon cap.
And like, how the heck is it going to play in with Jenny Slater's watch and also the Snow Globe and stuff like that? We don't know what these things are doing, and if Batman's not involved anymore, why? Why are they there?
And it's crazy. And again, if you start mentioning Pariah, you start mentioning the great darkness and things like that. Is that going to tie in more of how they are going to get things back after Dark Crisis? Maybe things will be changed. Maybe things will be better because of that. And it seems like you might be setting that up, which I think is really cool. And again, makes this book.
Bring me Dr. Batman back.
Yeah, and it makes things even bigger. And I think that people are sleeping on this book a bit because they just thought it was Flashpoint. I don't need that bullshit. But it was already a little bigger than that, I thought. But this issue really does show,
especially coming out of Infinite Frontier and Justice League Incarnate.
Yeah, people. I guess we even said we were worried that not a lot of people were reading that or is enough. And then they just see Flashpoint and they, like I said, they pish-poshed it. But give us the credits and we'll get into it.
Okay, I don't have the credits for this one because you told me you had the credits.
I actually, you know what? As I was saying that, I thought that you reviewed this and you don't. Gabe does. Flashpoint Beyond number 3, written by Jeff Johns, Jeremy Adams, and Tim Sheridan. And what we've been told is Jeff Johns is kind of overlooking with the story with Jeremy Adams and Tim Sheridan. I'll give them kudos again. Pretty good. Art by Monaco.
Spot on.
Yeah, Mikel Janine. Colors by Romalo Fajardo Jr., Jordi Belair, and Rob Lay on letters. So, yeah, you jump into this, and we already said it really is big. What you're going to get here, though, is the Superman deal. You end up with Subject 1, and you get a bit of his background. And I like the twist here where instead of him being sent to Earth because, hey, Krypton's going to get destroyed.
Krypton's on the verge of destruction, so what we need to do is send out a bunch of babies all over the place to seed a new planet so we can have a new Krypton later on before this planet eventually does get destroyed.
Yeah, in an evil way, that makes sense. We send out all these kids, you go, you end up seeing how it is, loosen it up, we'll get the best one, and then we'll take over and make a new Krypton by destroying everyone. The funny play is here.
Huzzah. Father-son high five.
It's funny, you can't change Superman, though. You end up Subject 1 who's been just awfully,
which is weird,
brutally, but he ends up seemingly seeing the good.
He saw that Lois at one time, like, boy, she done there pretty.
Like, man, no pretty girls there.
I'm going to fight for these people. There is no reason that Subject 1 should be the Clark Kent that we know and love and want to protect the people from the way that he's been treated throughout this Flashpoint timeline.
I think that the biggest problem is that when he crashed, it ended up blowing up everybody and the crystals got scattered and he didn't really get to hear the game plan. he ended up coming up where he seems
it's
to be.
Essentially like the idea of like, Goku coming to Earth, where he was sent there to destroy it kind of thing, so they could eventually come down here and like, here's the Saiyan, like the Saiyan races like expanding their like their property to a degree, but he came down, he hit his head, he couldn't remember his missions
He couldn't remember it, and then he's really, he's a little sus little guy. He's doing his fishing nude, all that. But yeah, you end up where there's Subject One, even Thomas Wayne, who again, he doesn't mind. Hey, you're going to come down and you're going to let him happen. I want this place destroyed. I want to reset all this. I want it done. He has his own mission. And yeah, he is really like, nothing's his problem. He has his own thing. I don't want to deal with you. And by the way, why are you so hopeful anyway? They treated you like shit. They ended up being awful to you. But it is kind of that weird kind of play again with where Barry had to inspire, Thomas Wayne and try to get him involved, where you're going to end up having Superman, and then we even go off and see some other things as we go. But yeah, when we're going into this, though, we have Gilda, who I really like.
Gilda Dent, the new Flashpoint Two-Face. She just wants her boy.
But yeah, she has voices talking to her. She wants to see her boy, which we do end up seeing. You don't, like you said with Oswald.
Dexter Dent is the best thing going on in the background of this book, because Oswald Cobblepot, being the Alfred of this Thomas Wayne, like universe kind of thing, just keeping the boy occupied with whatever he wants, and whatever this boy wants is all nefarious. Let's explode stuff, teach me how to do guns. And in this issue, we just see a brief bit of him, Oswald teaching him how to pick a lock. And we're just going to go from the smallest locks to the best lock. And Dexter, he's a quick learner, but they're interrupted by Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne, like very quickly, just vibrating in out of nowhere. It's like, I need Thomas Wayne. He's coming for me again. Hyper time. And then fading out. And then like, look, kid, I don't know what the fuck that was, but I need a drink. Do you need one?
Like, that's the best. Do you need a drink? Like,
I love this duo.
What are you doing? And I love the idea that that's like, instead of cucumber sandwiches, he's going off to get whiskey for both of them, because he's the awful
This
Albert.
is an awful, awful timeline, but Thomas Wayne with Oswald and Dexter Dent, his freaking boy terror, his little ward that he's brought in. I love this weird little family.
Too. I also like the idea, as you have this, where there's, Thawne, who's actually seeking out Thomas Wayne.
Yeah. He's scared, and he should be.
And that really shows you how desperately scared he is. I need Thomas Wayne. I need him, because he knows that whatever is after him, Thomas Wayne would be the only one to be able to do something with it.
And I want to know if this is all done in this weird repercussion kind of thing, where the time, like even hyper time is messed up because of what Eobard did by going back into this dead timeline of Flashpoint and bringing Thomas Wayne out as a punishment. Like, is he the cause of all this stuff? And then we have something that is the monitor of hyper time, some bullshit kind of over like Watcher kind of the thing that we're going to bring out here that will be the outcome of the
Tempest Fusionaut.
Because to a degree, not even Tempest Fusionaut, but like almost like a Clock King kind of thing, like the Clock King of the hyper time. I actually
thought of Clock King, but like you said, something of a multiversal hyper time.
Just by hyper time, I mean, just in general, because it's this chaotic freaking, streaming. Any kind of future timeline that can happen happens in hyper time all at once, and it is going chaotic right now. And even Flashpoint is here, living again, which it makes sense to be in hyper time because it's not part of the main timeline anymore. But when you have Thawne show up at the end at a crime scene where he's dead, fucking inside's all full of gears and clockwork, like all the everybody else who's been involved in time travel, the TikTok killer is killed with this TikTok written in blood. The Clockwork Killer, but like he is now another victim of the Clockwork Killer. I'm like, what is this? Because the craziest thing is happening in here because Thomas Wayne wants to get to the bottom of this. At every step, every turn that he takes to try to make sure that this world gets destroyed, or finding out how to avert this timeline once again to get to the normal timeline that we all know and love, every step of the way, something weird and has happened that feels like it's out of nowhere, and nobody really has an explanation. So even when you have Subject One show up here, knock out Thomas Wayne and bring him to his sanctuary where Poison Ivy's there as the leader of the sanctuary, anybody's looking for refuge, and Jason Woodrue is the Swamp Thing, and they've detected that the Kryptonian invasion that's coming in 5 days, where we get the whole background. And it's actually a really cool concept, the idea that we have a Fortress of Solitude that's actually built out of trees and wood and stuff like that, and it's connected to the green. So even when you have the crystals, they're connected to the way. And so instead of holograms of ice, you have like actually wood like holograms of Jor-El. And I'm like, this weird, it's really cool and it's really different, but I think it really stands out for how different it is, but still acting the same way with a different medium. I think it acts really cool. But
I thought it was cool.
The way we have this going on, I almost feel that whoever our Overwatcher is, or Overseer, whatever it may be, if it's the Clockwork Killer, whatever it is keeps putting these things out there because this isn't something that felt like it would be a thing. Like 5 days we're having a Kryptonian invasion out of nowhere. It feels like another obstacle to be put in Thomas Wayne's way, and he's not dealing with it. But because each of these things, even the idea Scavenger killed this person over here, and then I need to find out why because Barry Allen, the Aquaman did it. I gotta go find the Aquaman, and the Aquaman's killed by one. Every step of the way, it just seems to be he's getting gaslit
like an obstacle, like you said, it is,
and it almost feels like he's not supposed to get to what the bottom of this whole thing is. And even this Kryptonian invasion feels like something that was just created out of nowhere. The Kryptonian invasion
does. The weird play of it, though, seems to me like Subject 1 is going against what might have been even with Thomas Wayne saying, like you said, why would he trust humanity? And when he says everything matters,
which is the reverse etiquette of what he's saying, nothing matters,
and
whole
mimicking
idea.
Even the Infinite Frontier deal. But it is like you said, anything that could happen here. Thomas Wayne says, I don't care. Nothing matters. I want to end this. And with Superman going and saying everything matters, and I think that that's him. It is true. He has to start looking at these things, like you said, these obstacles being put out there. And the weird play is, even if you go basic hyper time, usually our joke, and it has been, hyper time fixes itself. Hyper time, and it's not working. Things are going. Somebody's able to target things, and so this might be outside of it, but it's obviously affecting everything as well. And that might be the ramifications, obviously, that Thomas Wayne doesn't understand, and it does matter in the thing by the end.
Thing that's happening in this book right now, because we just got done talking about Chip Zdarsky's first issue of Batman, where it looks like he just went and killed the Penguin. First fucking issue. How crazy is that? One of our mainstays of the DC universe, ever since, we had Barry Allen come back in Flash Rebirth in the, the aughts. I always screw up what those are called, but in the mid-2000s, or the late 2000s, but you had the idea that Reverse Flash Eobard is a paradox. You can kill him over and over again, but it doesn't matter because he has a paradox. He can always come back, and there's he's always going on at some timeline somewhere, even though you think you kill him, he doesn't. And when you see the body of Eobard and TikTok, he's completely dead right there. It's it's just Eobard's dead again, whatever. But when you have the Time Masters traversing hyper time, and then all of a sudden the time sphere gets ripped with electricity and lightning and stuff like that. Oh my God, what the hell just happened? A paradox was just reset. Holy shit, you actually just killed Eobard Thawne. He is no longer a paradox because you actually fucking killed him somehow.
Yep, he was just reset. That's huge. And I don't know that people actually realize how big that should be. And again, that is oh my God, was it Thomas Wayne? No, it was Thawne. Even when you say a paradox was reset and they asked, was it Thomas? Because he's another one now, obviously saying that, but it was Thawne. And they're oh my God, this isn't just them hanging and going oh man, this is crazy. I mean, it is balls to the wall, alarms going off. They're freaking out. And that's big. And to mention the idea of, oh my God, with Pariah, the Great Darkness, obviously this is all connected because that is going with that, Christ on Infinite Earths and how it's going to go. And you end up having the Great Darkness wants to just end everything and all that. So this is obviously involved, but how it is, we don't know because of the idea. This is a separate pulled out timeline deal as far as we know. And so that might be the case that if things go on, maybe the Clockwork Killer is going with the idea. Thomas Wayne says, oh, it doesn't matter. I want to end it. Maybe you have to make this, I don't know, a weird
play your role, maybe.
Juxtaposition. You have to make it work.
Because even when freaking we have Bonnie Baxter here, but the Omniverse may be relatively more stable than Hypertime, but its multiverses are being besieged by the Great Darkness, which will no doubt alter them again. So the idea of when you think of the multiverse being recreated and stuff like that, even when it was recreated initially by Alexander Luthor Jr. after Infinite Crisis and stuff like that, what you had recreated was the multiverse once again, but they were all copies of the world we know. It took a time altered Mr. Mind to corrupt all those and make them their own individual worlds that we know and stuff like that, to make them different somehow as he traversed through them. And that's what we have. So it seems like right now that we have the multiverse that's recreated once again after the Metal Wars and stuff like that, creating the Omniverse. It seems like they're continuing to alter, even to the point where we have the Time Masters here talking about our timelines might be altered again. So who knows what's going to happen with our mission right now. It's we need to steer clear of the Omniverse until the League returns and the darkness passes.
And that's crazy too. Just the idea of mentioning the League returning. Those things are big. And
unless we want to risk our own histories being rewritten once again.
I like the idea that they're playing that, we can't get involved because if we do now, things are too fragile. Things are going all wacky. And these, the idea that a paradox has been reset is huge, especially Thawne there. And boy, he just looks destroyed on that bed. It's just awful.
His insides are full of gears, Jim.
Yeah, I know. And I think this is really interesting. Yeah, I want to know more about the Clockwork Killer as he didn't. He was told, Eric. He shouldn't have.
He was shown.
And it's a very quick read, this one. But even like you said, when you go into this like Fortress of Solitude, that's more of the
sanctuary.
Green, and you have Woodrow. And
it's almost like the idea, really too. Neat. It's the sanctuary that we saw previously in what felt like Deceased with Poison Ivy. Like how Ivy putting that together.
It reminded me 100%
but also combined with like the way that the structure would look with like the Fortress of Solitude, because Subject 1 is in control here. So when you have a Jason Woodrue as the Swamp Thing who's only trying to make up for his past like bad deeds as the Swamp Thing, Poison Ivy, who was pretty much just like she is connected to the Green and a good person, combined with Subject Zero to make this Fortress of Green gun. Like, this thing looks amazing, and the way it works with the Kryptonian crystals is awesome.
And I love the idea when you see it, you look, and once you look at it where you see the outside, it is like those jutting trees that look like the crystals of the normal deal, but this is vegetative, and it looks really, really neat. And like you said, I love when they have the crystal deal where it's Jor-El talking, and it's of the vegetation. They are using that, and they're kind of mimicking
like
what's
William
being
Sharp
told.
should have drawn this hologram.
Yeah, it would have been really cool. But yeah, the whole play this is where you think it's going to be like, okay, Cal, do your best. You're the greatest guy. We're going to send you to Earth. You're going to have some powers.
We're going to kill all these fools, Cal. You and me, we're going to rule everything. The Kryptonian's awesome. Hey, number one.
Yeah, it's almost like a Zod thing, dig it? Even, right? And he's like, we're going to come here, get everything ready. Because the play here, though, like you said, that's so weird of an obstacle is, well, when's this going to happen? Oh, 5 days.
5 days.
5 days. Like, what?
And then there's this Thomas. He goes up like, I'm out. I got 5 days to complete my mission, bitches.
It is funny. They're like, listen, we need you because we can end up fighting this. Well, I
even the idea is like, we need you to get all the heroes that you had before when Aquaman and Wonder Woman were going in. And plus, we found some other heroes. We need you to put them together and lead them. Like, you can go fuck yourselves. I'm out.
Yeah, he's like, no, I don't need to do this. And when Superman says everything matters.
Don't they call out Majestic in here, which is a Wildcats character, which is crazy.
Yeah, and that kind of reminded me when you're playing with all this, for some reason, not that it fully connects, but it did remind me of even the, Vertigo, the Wild, so all those coming together at the beginning of the New 52.
Well, even when you had like Grifter in the Flashpoint universe doing stuff initially.
And I think that's really cool. And with that, you have to wait because at some point, Thomas Wayne is going to realize that this does matter and he does have to change because maybe it's as big as, Bonnie come down. Somehow they end up, I don't know how you do get word to Thomas like, hey, your son's actually dead in the regular deal. So maybe you want to, make something that would change that or whatnot. But
I don't think he'd believe it.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to see. But something has to get him inspired.
That's a better world. And there's no way that a better world would have his son dead in it no matter what.
Remember, he ended up getting zapped. If somebody knows how they died, he would know what that is because they ended up facing him as well. Oh, Darkseid, the darkness. Oh, shit. That's how I got here again. Oh, my God. I don't know.
Well, his was just Darkseid.
Yeah, I know. But you even had all that craziness and people were being infected and stuff.
They were prying
there. But yeah, we'd have to see what the deal is. But something has to inspire him to do something. And we have, 3 issues left to do it. So we'll have to see. But with that whole Clockwork Killer, up until now, I mean, even I said, you don't get a ton of Clockwork Killer. But when you get Thawne and then the mention of the Paradox Reset, that ups the ante. Like, is that something? Was that a plan?
Because I was sitting there reading, like, okay, Thawne's dead again for now. But when we get to that fucking, when Bonnie's talking about, like, the paradox has been reset, I'm like, oh shit, you done did it. No more Eobard Thawne as we know him right now. Like, anything that we had this guy that was just going through our time, making sure that Barry Allen had the worst time, that's over.
Yeah. And so in that, could the Clockwork Killer be somebody who's not exactly as nefarious as we think, that he's trying to do something with Hypertime that will end up helping them against Pariah in the Great Darkness? I don't know. We'll have to see how it is. It looks pretty bad right now, but then when you get next Dexter Dent, Robin, the Boy Terror, it just makes me giggle.
I can't wait.
I ended up sending you that little deal. Like, here we go. That's pretty cool because in the background of this, and I love the pacing of that each issue. You just see something else being taught him.
It's like one of the best parts of the series, and it's nothing, and somehow it works so well.
Oswald is not being bad. No. He's just being himself in this and trying to do what he was told to do. And that's all he knows. He's like, let's pick some locks. Let's go. Remember, Thomas just said, because, again, nothing matters. Whatever he wants, just do it. He's like, I want to learn how to pick locks and drink whiskey. All right, well.
I hear you, boy.
I'm telling you, I'm expecting him next issue. He's like smoking a big cigar.
Oswald,
and stuff.
You got any cigarettes? I want to smoke. Well, I'm going off to the Wawas. I'll be back. Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, that means he's never coming back, Eric. He went for a pack of smokes. I liked him there, though, Eric. He doesn't need to disappear. I want a World's Fair cigar. I mean, I really want that huge-ass cigar going. But by the end, I did like this. I thought it was
very quick
really
read,
good.
but it really ups the ante, especially by tying it in with what's going on with Dark Crisis right now. Keeping the Batman in the book, but allowing you to know that everything that Batman's dealing with Dark Crisis is affecting this as well with the Time Masters, and just the idea that, Eobard's dead. And also, I can't help the overwhelming feeling that whatever is happening in the background, things just keep getting placed in Thomas Wayne's path to try to get him to stop doing what he's doing, whether it makes sense or not, like Kryptonian invasion, all the stuff that we dealt with. It feels like it's out of nowhere, out of place, and it just feels deliberate from something of a higher power. I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go 8.5 as well. And in that, again, just as another aside, we talked about this last issue. If this is what it takes to up the ante and up the game of both Jeremy Adams and Tim Sheridan, to work with Jeff Johns and to do this, because if they're doing this, like Jeff Johns gave them notes and went off and they did this, they're doing a great job. And I think that this might be something that DC should take notice and say, maybe Jeff Johns should do that. Maybe he should be kind of a mentoring, not an editor, but kind of like he goes around the tutor to go, because boy.
Well, even the idea that we were told at the beginning of Rebirth, where he was doing the DC Universe Rebirth special, that was his book. But the little, word on the street that we heard, or a little internet rumor, was that Jeff Johns was going around and overseeing the first 6 issues of all the books that were coming out for that initial Rebirth. And all of them were so good when they were first coming out. I don't know how much that true that is, but that's what we heard.
Yeah, that's what we heard. And a lot of other people have heard it as well. Maybe they heard it from us.
Agree. We must be spreading lies. I don't know. We're the urban legend.